Hello, everybody. My name is Ken Rock. Sorry for the lighting. I'm still trying to figure out all that with this setup and all that. I've tried to do this video a minute ago, but I started freaking out for some reason, but that's all fine. As you saw by the title of this video, we'll be doing toph versus bumi, and it will be all forms of toph. I was going to put that up for bumi, but there's only two forms of bumi. Kid bumi, without much explanation, beats kid toph. I don't think I need to explain why a kid who's active can beat a blind girl who has no fighting experience. So let's get on to the funner parts. I'll be starting with old Boomy versus beginning of Avat Last Airbender Toph. Now, a lot of people who generally say Toph would take this one, but I disagree because the only evidence that says that she could beat Boomy at this point is the fact that she says that she's the most powerful Earthbender that the gang will ever meet. The problem with this being is she only really has experience in a ring. That makes sense. She's a showman, if anything. She doesn't have real fighting experience at this point in time, and it shows when she's fighting people like Aang. Like just simply being off the ground is good enough to the point where she can't really react. Which, and that kind of goes into another point with Bumi, but basically at this point alone, just overall Bumi has more fighting experience on top. Even if she was more powerful, she would not have the experience to be able to beat Bumi. Bumi's able to fight on par with Aang at this point with absolutely no problem, and even had him beat. Another thing that Bumi can do at this point, this will be important throughout the entire thing, is he's very good at messing with the earth. The best way to put this is when Aang bites Bumi the first time, one of the things he does is he falls backwards into the ground, and he's able to turn the ground beneath him so soft that he's able to just fall through and just travel through wherever he wants. This is a problem because if he can do that, he could theoretically do it under Toph's feet and make it so she can't see at all. So even if she was more powerful, again, he has the ability to just completely limit what she can do. Next will be Toph mid-series or book 3, I guess would be the best way to put it. This Toph again kind of gets stomped. She still has the same problem with Bumi's ability to deal with her ability to see via just making the ground completely more sand-like. I guess the best way to describe it would be. However, she wouldn't at least be able to see somewhat, but it's not going to be enough for it to really matter. I don't know if there's any evidence that she gets more powerful as far as her ability to lift heavier stuff, but we'll assume she does. At this point, one of her best feats is holding up the library, and I think in the comic book she even holds up a cave system. That's impressive, but there's feats with Bumi able to completely throw around buildings with absolutely no problem, and even destroying Ozai's statue, which is so big that it dwarfs the wall of Omashu. Which is something very important to take into perspective here. When the two of the biggest things that goes against Toph is one, people saying that since she said she's the most powerful earthbender, she is, but Bumi says the same thing to Aang as well. There's also a problem with Bumi's kind of shown to be more powerful. Again, with the statue, he's able to throw around heavier things than what Toph has. He's also, at that point in time, able to break out of a metal box with only his face. When someone like Toph is completely free and able to move around, it has problem breaking out of a metal box. The only argument I can see going against this is the idea, well, Toph couldn't see any earth around her, but I don't know if that would matter too much in this scenario, because I think for you to be able to bend it, at least has to be near you. I could be wrong, but regardless, Bumi's shown the ability to break out of being restrained, while Toph has to have a brand new form of bending just to do so. Next, we will go over what would happen if Bumi were to fight end of series Toph or after book 4 Toph. This one's a bit more interesting because this Toph actually can see in the sand completely fine. So Bumi making the ground completely soft is not going to affect this fight at all like the other tophs. She can deal with this. This toph's also a lot more powerful than her other counterparts and has the experience. So she would be able to deal with stuff like Bumi throwing big rocks at her and then trying to sneak up with other ones or trying to put her in the quicksand and all that. Basically, normal earthbending tricks aren't going to work. So this is going to become down to a lot more of a power versus power kind of thing and who can outsmart the other. And as much as I want to say Toph gets it here, I think Bumi just has her slightly outdone. That's mostly because Bumi should still be on the same level as someone like Iroh. Iroh was he wasn't convinced he could beat Ozai, but he wasn't disconvinced. Ozai, if he still had his spinning, should still be more powerful than Zuko and should at least still be relative to Aang, who should still be powerful than Toph. Which means, worst case scenario, Bumi should just slightly out edge her in power. If we're completely downgrading what Bumi should be capable of. And as far as experience goes, I don't think it's. She went through an entire war, but Bumi has been fighting a 100-year war at this point. Like, Omashu only got captured because he allowed himself to be. He was not at all threatened by the fact that there was an army there. In fact, it's implied that the only reason he gave up is because he didn't want anyone to get hurt. Even when Zoro was there. Like, I think I just butchered that name. Zuko's sister, Azula. That's it. He was not at all convinced that he wouldn't be able to beat her and take out the army. He was still just worried about the idea of people getting hurt. So this means Bumi is confident he could beat Azula and the Fire Nation army. And he should have some idea about how powerful he is. Because again, he knows Iroh. He's friends with him. Iroh definitely knows how powerful his niece is. So, and Azula at this point is definitely just more powerful than Toph as well. She's still a threat even at the end of the series. If you read the comic books, it specifically says that she's still a threat if she were to get free, which means she's still able to fight on par with Zuko and Aang and Toph. So anyway, let's get to the last one, which will be Old Lady Toph versus Bumi. I would go with the next one would be mid-age, but I feel like old person Toph would be. There's more to go with off there, and it will be the same result regardless. And if you guys are worried about the fact that I didn't go over meld bending, I don't know if she's proficient enough by that point with meld bending for it to make too much of a difference, and she can't really restrain Bumi with it. Considering once again he can break out of being completely restrained except for his head, so she'd have to completely cover him. So that's a non-issue here. And for Old Lady Toph versus Bumi, she now has definitely the experience and is far more powerful than Bumi. She's able to connect to a tree, not literally, but she's able to sense everything in the world through a tree, which is something far greater in itself as far as bending capability than Bumi has shown. He struggled to lift that statue, and I wouldn't doubt that at this point in time, Toph would be able to hold up the library completely, no problem. Especially if she can actually sense everything in the world. Experience, I believe this Toph is just slightly older than that Bumi as well. She should also, at this point, have complete mastery over sand ability, so if anything, she'd actually be able to reverse whatever Bumi does. If he tries to travel through the ground, she could probably just reharden it and just trap him under there. Or if she wanted, she could just turn the whole ground into sand, giving herself an even greater advantage, because Bumi has never shown the ability to bend sand outside of just being able to kind of casually make it and travel through it. So as far as old Toph versus Bumi, she gets the win, but more experience and raw power definitely. Well, that's about all I can really say. As far as Toph goes, it seems that she has to get into her older age in order to fight Bumi, which is fair. I mean, she was a kid in Avatar: Last Airbender, but I think this should show that people should probably be careful when taking certain statements into account. You gotta look at what the show actually gives you. Anyway, that's it for now. Sorry this video took so long to do. I might redo it with outside of a live just so I can kind of show my evidence a little bit more, but I'll be it for now. This is Ken Rock out. Goodbye.